All right, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Palomar Perspective. Today, we've got a little bit more of a roundtable style. Here today, we've got John Ash, Taylor Brown, and Cyril John. John Ash he's the Director of Investments with Carolina Capital out of Charlotte. They're a private investment firm that focuses primarily on retail, a little bit of industrial and office as well. Taylor Brown is a senior acquisitions associate with New Market Properties in Atlanta. They are a subsidiary of Preferred Apartment Communities, publicly traded REIT. And Cyril John is senior acquisitions and dispositions associate with Hutton out of Chattanooga. They're focused primarily on single tenant retail and development. So, guys, welcome. Glad to have you all here. This will be a fun, short, kind of enlightening episode of the Palomar Perspective. Lee, I'm going to defer to you to tee off the first question, kind of get this conversation started.
The first section is the underwriting section, and we're starting out with two questions that will help us get to know each other a little better. And the first question, what is the thing you're missing most during the quarantine? And what have you been doing more of over the past month? I'm going to kick it off with Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, I think, for me, it's just really miss seeing all my buddies and friends and, going out to dinners and stuff like that with everyone. And, I found myself spending a lot more time with my wife. Last couple of weeks was good. We're having a baby in the next month or two. And, it's been a good time to spend some quality time with her, which I've enjoyed, and I think we're all ready to start seeing more of our friends and everyone else out there.
Sure. What about you, John?
Definitely agree with Taylor there. Definitely miss friends, just face to face. Getting to meet with people after work. Restaurants, travel in general. I've gotten out of town one time in the last month and a half, and that was to do a little hunting. So it's, definitely been in Charlotte a lot more, but I'm getting to spend a lot more time with family, which is nice. Got a little girl who's now 10 months. So it's been fun to see her really grow up and advance more than I was. And, then I'd say work-wise, just been on the phone a lot more than I normally am, mostly hunkered down, working on stuff and it's been a lot more phone calls, just really, figuring out what's going on and getting other people's perspective through the chaos. So it's been interesting catching up with people that way and staying in touch, compared to the in-person that I think we're used to. So it seems like overall, people are staying in touch, trying to stay on top of stuff, continuing to monitor the evolving nature of what we do. And so it has been a very interesting time, but also a good time to spend a lot more, just quality time with family, which has been really fun.
Nice. What about you, Cyril?
Well, yeah, just to resonate with what this guy said, missing human interaction, going out with the friends and working with the team in person. There's a lot of things we work on at Hutton that require everybody on the team to be a part of it. Being able to have a meeting or just go up to someone's office is definitely missed compared to just having to get on a Zoom or to chat them through Microsoft Teams. But, on the other side of that, something that I've done more because of it is I FaceTime people a lot more. This is a good example. And with my friends, my family, everybody, I'm kind of seeing more faces through the camera that I probably wouldn't have seen in real life because I just would have called them.
Nice.
I think we would all have a different answer to this question if this thing drags on into September.
Oh, yeah. That's for sure.
Don't say that, please. I guess that is a possibility that it can drag on into September. I know all of you have been forward-looking like everybody has to be. I don't know if I guess, John, I'll start with you here on this one. What are your prospects over the next 12 months or 18 months? How do you guys see your acquisition rollout sort of coming together over the next year and a half or so? What are you focusing on?
Yeah, I mean, we were relatively aggressive going into this, pursuing opportunities, and with everything going on, it really has been pencils down for the last month, just crisis management and really trying to button up the assets that we do have, make sure that we are, putting them in as healthy of a position as we can to come out. And so I definitely foresee at least another month of just pure crisis management and monitoring. And then honestly, the conversations we have, every 2 weeks with our partners and investment committee is just kind of week by week, month by month. But I would be surprised if we're, really, really pursuing anything hard in the next 60 days. And then I do think it is a very optimistic outlook, 12 to 18 months out. It's hard to really tell in the immediate time frame, but I think everybody is remaining optimistic and positive that opportunities, if they aren't back immediately, it isn't a 36-month, well, what are we doing in 3 years? It's more of a, we think we'll be really back at it in 12 to 18 months, worst case scenario. And hopefully sooner than that, whether it's, opportunities feel less risky than they do now and pricing remains the same, or opportunities present themselves in the short term because of over-levered assets that people are having to dispose of or have been taken back at a distressed rate and create opportunities. So that is where we are constantly monitoring. Is unfortunately for the last month it has been day by day monitoring and triaging tenants to help make sure that our current assets are healthy, and then move to offensive once we get through this defensive stance.
Great. And Cyril, you mentioned before we got on that you've been feeling a lot more face-to-face with the tenants lately. Did anything that you've gleaned from those guys? I know several articles have come out about some major national tenants that haven't paid rent. Are there any particular tenants that I mean, you don't have to give any specific examples, but I guess the overall gist of your conversations, are you looking forward to more acquisitions, or are you kind of in a disposition mode right now?
I think that's a great question to ask, is the acquisitions versus the dispositions, because that's the two different hats I wear here. And it's definitely right now in the boat where we're going to be more focused on selling. Just trying to see, because we know there's 1031 buyers out there that are looking for good product. There's a lack of good product out there, especially on the single tenant side. And there's plenty of tenants that we have in our portfolio that are paying rent this month without batting an eye. And in some of these cases, they're making major profits off this unfortunate situation. They're the kind of businesses that are necessities in this kind of crisis. So getting those kind of tenants out there, and it really boosts their story when you compare it to other tenants and other things that these 1031 buyers could be purchasing today.
And Taylor, how about on the I know you guys are primarily on the grocery anchored side. I mean, where do you see, obviously grocers today are one of the very few businesses that are still running strong. What's your outlook on everything from that standpoint?
I mean, you see Kroger's come out in the last week or so and said that their same store sales for March were up, north of 30%. Publix has been similar. I mean, of our 54 assets, they're all grocery anchored. So, luckily, given this, we've been relatively well insulated. The majority of our NOI, I think it's, over 30% of our NOI is driven by grocers, which has helped us during this, pandemic. But I think that, it's been interesting. A lot of the times, a lot of the chatter in the last 12 to 18 months surrounding grocery and e-commerce has been, the infiltration of Amazon and things like that. And obviously, they're very innovative, but I think that this has kind of proven, the market leading grocers in Kroger, Publix, Harris Teeter, H-E-B, those kind of guys have really stepped up to the plate and delivered in a strong way in the last, 4 or 5 weeks.
Nice. That's good to hear. So, Cyril, we're going to start out the next question with you. There have been a lot of changes recently. What's changed most in your day-to-day responsibilities over the past month?
It's definitely been more instead of constantly underwriting single tenant opportunities, although we are looking for those. it's been more of getting listings out there, finding out what cap rate we can be competitive at today, especially finding out how many buyers are out there right now. Because I think there's a good amount of them, even though they're getting deadlines on their 1031s, that doesn't necessarily put them to ease on what they're acquiring or how they're going to replace their properties that they've sold. So I think that's definitely something I've been gunning down. And just talking to folks like yourself about who's in the market buying has been very important to me recently. I mean, then we've also just been calling tenants, especially these small shop guys, is who I've been tackling, and just talking to them about how we can help, how they're operating right now, what's going on around them, and asking them what they've done to help alleviate their business from the stress, whether it's through government grants or local subsidies that they can get. That's something that we've tried to assist with, as well as find out just to see how they're going to come out of this crisis. Because that's the big thing to me, is not about how we're handling it today, but when this is all said and done and we start slowly opening businesses back, are they going to be able to manage as a normal business again, or is this something that's changing their DNA essentially?
Great point.
I think the interesting thing we've seen kind of along those lines is that, you know, a lot of the mom and pops have kind of, you know, done everything in their power to get applied for, you know, different, you know, the PPP and the different subsidies, which has been interesting. Whereas, you know, some of the national kind of credit guys have held out a little bit more on, you know, paying rent. So that's been an interesting kind of unexpected thing that we've seen in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we would definitely agree and piggyback off what Taylor said, where we are seeing, you know, I think a lot of these mom and pops are somewhat panicking because their business is so important to also their location, and they are looking at a landlord as, you know, a partner in these types of situations. And so what we've kind of found is that if we're reaching out and providing resources from the mom and pops, it's being very well received, and I think it is creating goodwill. And you know, unfortunately, they are the ones who can't necessarily pay rent, but they are the ones who are, you know, viewing this as a, you know, optimistic 3-month kind of downturn, short-term pain. And if they can fight through those 3 months, their commitment to these locations may be stronger if they feel like they're being taken care of and not being forced almost into bankruptcy. Whereas with some of our more national tenants, it is just kind of a letter saying, hey, we're not paying rent. There's really not much you can do about it. And so it has been interesting to see the difference in approaches just based on, you know, who kind of holds the power at the time. And it is where we have been trying to be proactive in triaging and get through this thing as, you know, as unscathed as possible, which we all know is going to be impossible to get out unscathed, but just helping in the short term to hopefully create long-term both goodwill and value.
Yeah, I think, you know, we've kind of focused on that as well. I mean, you know, in the immediate, you got to work with these guys, you know, helping them get across the finish line with PPP and, you know, the immediate needs are, you know, rent requirements and things like that. But I think as landlords, it's, you know, as John's mentioning, it's important to keep the long-term value of your asset in mind. You know, there's some opportunities that, you know, we've seen, you know, whether it be, you know, working with a tenant that had restrictions on, you know, no build in the parking lot or something like that. You know, you really can, you know, kind of work with some of these existing restrictions and, you know, you give on some rent or something like that, and then they in turn give on freeing up a no build zone or a restriction on certain spaces in the center or something like that really helps maximize value when, you know, we potentially go to exit some of these that we own.
Yeah, it really proves that the relationship between a landlord and a tenant has to be a partnership, especially in times like this. Like, you can't just be one side in any of this. Everybody has to be willing to play the game, or else everybody's going to lose.
Yeah. I think one thing we've heard is we're all in this together and got to work together to figure it out.
Yeah, and I think it's been interesting that, you know, across, you know, our peers, I feel like there's been a strong level of communication, just, you know, an open sharing of information, really, just about, you know, what different, you know, landlords' approaches are to rent deferrals, rent relief, you know, what tenants are, you know, what tenants are playing ball, which tenants are, you know, not. That's been an encouraging and interesting thing that I've seen in the last, you know, 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. And I think normally on the ownership side, you're used to, say if it's a bad time for one tenant, you have 12 others doing well. And so you may have the ability to kind of draw a line in the sand. Whereas right now it's, maybe 10 out of your 12 tenants just don't have the ability to perform. And it's a bizarre position where, 2 months ago, you would have never thought you'd have 80% of your tenants unable to pay. And now you're having to work with 80% of your tenants to make sure you come out with a leased shopping center, not a completely dark place.
And if your lender's been, have they been okay? I mean, not okay with everything, but have they been, I guess, willing to help and work out? They obviously know that everybody's in this together, just like we just mentioned, but have you been able to work with them on a friendly basis?
Yeah, that's actually been probably the most positive of everything is, most of our debt is bank debt. And, a couple of our bank lenders actually reached out proactively before us even contacting them, saying that they were willing to work and defer both interest and principal payments for 3 months so that we could pass on the savings to the tenants. Because I guess our interpretation is that they saw what happened, 10 years ago, where if they play hardball, then we have to play hardball. Then tenants go bankrupt, and then all of a sudden the banks own a 50% lease center. And I think they're recognizing the seriousness of what's going on, and nobody wants to own a center that's not leased up, and I don't think they necessarily wanted to get there. So it's been, with the local banks and regional banks, it's been very, very positive. Just seeing those relationships and how proactive they've been and helpful. And so essentially what we've done on every asset but one is we've got deferrals for 3 months, and then that's being added on to our principal payment. So we will be paying interest on interest, but at the end of the day, that's a pretty minimal payment going forward compared to having to swallow the full amount, say in April, when you only receive 20% of rental checks, which really just covers expenses. And so, yeah, that's overall been very positive and at least kept us in high spirits to power through this.
That's good. So, going into this, obviously, looks like we're definitely in a recession, and who knows how long it's going to last. But the last time we were in a recession as a country was back in 2008, where all of us were still in school. We were obviously watching on the outside, seeing everything kind of go down. Now that this is our first sort of experience in an actual recession as professionals, wanted to get you guys' takes on how you guys personally feel going forward, or maybe any macro thoughts that you have on the general market. But really, what are you guys most nervous about over the next 6 months?
I mean, I was definitely in high school when that last recession hit, but I paid attention to it to the extent that, there was a systematic problem with our economy at that moment, right? There was a problem with individuals and their debt they were holding on their residential holdings. And the way that debt was being leveraged created a massive bubble. And so that you can really point to that and say, okay, this is the match that lit the spark that blew up the economy for that period. Looking at this situation, I don't see the same trigger here. I see coronavirus as something that causes an immediate effect. But once we're out of it, I think there's definitely going to be people still going back to their jobs. That unemployment number is going to drop significantly. And the question really is where is the bottom on it? How much fat's going to get cut? How many of these private businesses and retailers that we all work with were leveraged a little too high and don't have the resources to weather the storm? And how long is the storm? There's definitely those unknowns that I am nervous about, but I'm overall very positive that we'll not be in the same situation that we were in at that time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that the uncertainty is the most unsettling thing. I think, the scary thing is that, in 2008, 2009, that was driven by, it was a financial crisis where, all of us could relatively have an understanding on what caused it and things like that. I think it's safe to say none of us are doctors or into any type of medicine. So I think it's, scarier to try to, really understand this. I think, also it's for me, it's like, how long does it take for everything to get back to normal? I mean, I know John and I have had a bunch of conversations about, your family was eating out 3-4 times a week prior to this. How long after things start to reopen, how long does it take to really ramp back up to, getting back to that 4 times a week to eat out, or does it ever happen? I think that it's undeniable that this is really, the COVID has really changed the world, and I don't know, what the world looks like where, a sense of stabilization and normalcy has occurred. The world will be different. I think just the uncertainty of really being able to grasp all of it is the most unsettling for me personally.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And we've had, a lot of conversations with our mom and pop tenants, and most of them are pretty much in the same line of thought where, yes, it sucks right now. It sucked yesterday. It's going to suck tomorrow. But 3 months from now, they're maintaining optimism and positivity that their business will be back up and running, and they will start experiencing a sense of normalcy. And that's, another point that we can look to that's helping us feel positive is that, they're remaining optimistic, and they're optimistic that their business is not going under. They've just got to fight for a few months and wait for normalcy and wait for good news in the news. And so I do think, it's never completely different, but it's, I think a lot of people don't think it's the same, where it's a systematic problem. It's really a health crisis. And once we get through that and people start feeling normal, they can see life returning back to normal as well.
I think that, the optimistic side of me, and I think the reason we all love this business is because you never go to work and do the same thing that you did the day before. It's always changing. And, this is obvious proof of that. I think, the majority of us are all excited to see what, continues to happen as the market and really world evolves around us.
Nice. Well to hear the optimism. That kind of goes on our next question. You guys see any opportunities coming from this pandemic? And if so, what is the biggest opportunity? I want to start with you, Taylor.
I think, first and foremost, the concrete opportunity is, as we all, I usually spend significant majority of my time on acquisitions, trying to find stuff, trying to, on the phone with you guys, with the owners, trying to find anything we can to buy that, that fits our, strict criteria. And I think that as we've all kind of shifted to all hands on deck with asset management, we've really kind of, relearned our portfolio, if that makes sense. And I think that, like I was saying earlier, we've, with the long-term view in mind, going through space by space, tenant by tenant, as you work through this with them, really realizing where you can unlock some long-term value. I think on the acquisition front, we're going to continue to be active, and we're going to continue to pursue the assets, the grocery anchor assets in our Sun Belt and Mid-Atlantic markets with market-leading grocers. I think that there's going to be a sense of price adjustment that comes out of this. But we are confident that there's going to be some opportunities with lesser capitalized owners that are going to be seeking some short-term liquidity coming out of this. I think that it's going to be interesting to see how this changes leasing. I think that it's going to become more capital intensive, with your TIs, backfilling new tenants and things like that is going to be more capital intensive. We're all going to have to adjust our, lease up assumptions, things like that across the board. But I think that, like everyone's saying, there's a sense of optimism. I think that there's not a fault in the system this time around. So I think we're all going to, stick to our guns and remain confident in our strategies. I think that this is forcing us to, reanalyze our strategy and what we focus, and we always have, on necessity-based, convenient-based retail to go along with our grocery. And I think we're going to continue to, psychoanalyze each space as we go through them for all acquisitions we're looking at, and continue to march forward with that.
Nice. Cyril, do you have anything to add on the opportunities?
I think it's really, I mean, this is the time to see, right? If things are at the right price, they're at the right price. And this is one of the situations where you might find a couple assets at the right price. So that's what I'm really gunning for. And it really is an opportunity to be able to talk to a tenant in earnest instead of having this like footsie game that you play sometimes with some of these guys when you don't know how they're doing at a specific location and acquisition. There's a hearty conversation to be had about what they're looking like today, how they want to repay that, or how they want to adjust their rent going forward. And it really lets you in on what their performance looks like and gives you an understanding of what their goal is for that space. And so I think in those two areas, there's definitely deals to be made. I'm actively looking, but I think by that same token, there's a market for us to be selling pretty aggressively right now too. So on both of those sides, I definitely see some opportunity. I'm definitely going to stay busy over the next little bit.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah, and I would, continue off of those and say, I think we definitely believe there will be opportunity, but, the question we keep coming back to is, would we be willing to take a discount for what we own? And if that answer is still no today, then should we expect other sellers to take a discount for what they own? And so that's where we feel like there could be a disconnect if we expect there to be a pricing difference or pricing discount. It's, where we could see there being either a delay or pricing just coming back to where it was, because eventually either the buyer or the seller is going to have to give and, or the seller's told enough times that their property is worth 20% less, or the buyer's told enough times that pricing didn't change and the risk is gone and interest rates are still extremely low, so yields are still really healthy. Is it a seller's market again? So that's where, it's just hard to really see if there is opportunity or if it's going to come back to where it was with where the interest rates are and being able to, maybe less leverage, but still financially engineer pretty strong returns.
Well, we wanted to make this kind of short and sweet and informative for everybody. I appreciate all of your input and insight and where you are. And, we're all in the retail business, but, we all kind of bring our own aspects of the industry to this conversation. But just wanted to kind of end up on a lighter note. You guys have any embarrassing or funny stories from either an ICSC event or any sort of real estate event on a personal level that you wouldn't get anybody in trouble for saying?
John wouldn't, because he claims he's never going to go to an ICSC event, but
yeah, unfortunately, I actually have never been to ICSC, so I'll I get to plead the fifth.
Stand strong, John. Stand strong.
Stand strong. TB, how about you?
Not quite yet. I haven't. I was trying to think of something. Nothing really came to my mind. I'm sure that through the years hanging out with you boys, that'll be sure to change.
Well, knew these were long shot questions, but figured we'd have to ask. Cyril, you got one?
Strictly professional every time I go to any of these events.
Gotcha.
Maybe
how about the Palomar guys? Y'all are asking, y'all have to answer.
We're perfect. Yeah, no, we don't do anything wrong.
Last year, when we got home, Jefferson fell asleep on the lady next to us. That was pretty funny.
That was uncomfortable. Well, great. So that's a little insight to the Palomar group for you guys. But anyway, really appreciate you guys jumping on with Lee and I here. Thanks again. You guys have been great to work with over the last few years, and looking forward to staying in touch with you, learning about your prospects for the future, your businesses, and also the industry as a whole. So thanks again. Look forward to catching up soon, and thanks everybody for watching the next edition of the Palomar Perspective. Jefferson, Knox, and Lee Malchow with Palomar Group. John Ash, Taylor Brown, and Cyril John. Thank you.